here we go again. Well, you guys asked for it. Here it is. Though, at least we've got a sponsor this time. Roll clip.
The reality game experience you've been dreaming about is here. Damco presents the Omega Game, the last turn-based combat city builder you'll ever want to play. Play at Work hails it visually stunning, a game to end all games. Go multiplayer to invite friends and meet attractive singles near you.
Nah, just kidding. That looks fake as hell, doesn't it? No, the real sponsor of this video is Raid Shadow Legends! That's right, this video is sponsored by the world's greatest mobile RPG, with millions of players and over 80 million individual downloads, with PC quality graphics on your mobile, and this game comes with so much content, with more being added every single month. 650 unique champions with billions of ways to customize them, so you can easily take down the tons of awesome bosses in the game. Or if you're tired of PvE, you can take your team to the PvP arena. It's incredible stuff. I had a great time playing Raid, and I had that fun because I found the greatest champion. That champion was Axeman. You would think it'd be the scantily clad assassins or elf women. No, it was Axeman, father of two, down on his luck city guard, turned hero. He's a complete meme in the Raid Shadow Legends community. Both the wiki and the forums write him off, but I didn't. I gave him the best weapons, the best upgrades, and the best training to turn this one-attack wonder from a lowly town guard into a dragon-slaying behemoth. That is the kind of fun that Raid can give you. And let me tell you something, the fun doesn't stop there. Because Raid this month is holding a special event, Egg Hunt, and we're hunting for dragon eggs. Just download Raid Shadow Legends using the links below, copy your in-game player ID, and then head over to egghunt.plarium.com from April 14th to May 15th. And finding those eggs to win a chance to get some amazing in-game items or even real-life prizes, including stuff like Amazon gift cards. Existing Raid players can join in on this fun as well. Go to egghunt.plarium.com and you'll find a special promo code that everyone can use to earn a small gift in-game. So for all you new players out there looking to start your journey, scan the QR code in the top corner of this video or click the link in the description and pinned comment below and start your Raid Shadow Legends adventure. You'll also get a free starter pack with this cool in-game loot that you see on screen. So what are you waiting for? It's time to play Raid Shadow Legends. Now, onto the video. Well, here we are again. Call of Duty Vanguard. You guys asked for it, so here it is. I'll be reacting to all the other missions in Call of Duty Vanguard, as well as some other games with historical focuses, checking on their accuracy, pointing out what they got wrong, what they got right, things I like, things I didn't like, as well as all the other content you normally see. Ukraine is still well underway. I've got 3 videos about that underway right now. And I also have another historical documentary, as well as a collaboration with everyone's favorite Laserpig, and even some tentative workings with the world-famous PowerPoint Man. So there's a lot going on. But alas, first, we have to do this.
Stalingrad, the city that arrested the Nazis' eastern expansion. Had the city fallen, Russia would have crumbled. The Germans underestimated Russia's will to survive. They underestimated the city and her defenders.
Alrighty, already our first mistake. How many is that? That's 29 seconds in. Okay, so obvious ones out the way. That is a T-34-85. As we've established, they like throwing in T-34-85s years before they were actually there. So, as you can see, there is a 85 turret up in the top right there. And you've got the T-34 hull on the bottom left. So yes, incorrect T-34, step 1. But it's more than that. Given that they're in a T-34 assembly plant inside the city itself, this is most likely supposed to be representing Jajinsky Tractor Factory, or the Volgograd Tractor Plant, as it's called today, or the Stalingrad Tractor Plant. Either way. Basically, this is the famous tractor factory that is prominently featured in lots of media about the Battle of Stalingrad, specifically Red Orchestra 2 Heroes of Stalingrad, also in several of the other Call of Duties, I think. I think Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 2 had the tractor plant mentioned in it, or at least you crawl through it at some stage. And of course, the movie Enemy at the Gates features it as well. It's also very famous for the stories you get about the Battle of Stalingrad, where T-34s were rolled out of the factory straight onto the front line, operated by the factory workers. Whether that's true, we can't find really any firm sources other than primary sources who say it happened. It's very likely that they were used as sort of fighting emplacements with machine guns from the infantry, or sort of used as personnel carriers, or basically emplaced machine gun positions. Unless they could have got ammo for the guns, but again. So, the reason why that's an issue, is that Jajinsky Tractor Factory was attacked by the Germans in the very first wave of their attack during the Battle of Stalingrad. It was one of the first major battles between the Red Army and the Wehrmacht in the city. Which means the factory was basically blasted to bits and occupied by the Germans within the first few weeks of the Battle of Stalingrad. So it does not make sense for them in 1943 to be in here. The only other factories I could assume they would be in would also be under German control for the same reason. The entire industrial district of Stalingrad is to the north of the city, and that is firmly under German control, except for a small sliver of territory along the Volga riverbank. They wouldn't be in this factory. Magically, they've got a factory somewhere else. So, I don't know.
The people looked to Polina as a symbol of hope.
And again, why we've got a standard private soldier with a pistol? That's not common. Only officers would have pistols, and he's not an officer. Officers would be wearing their field caps. Also, it's the middle of winter, and he's wearing his helmet. He's wearing Horoshanka. I mean, again, if homie wants to freeze, that's his lookout. Also, his rifle. As you can see, a common error in Call of Duty Vanguard that you guys have all spotted by now. It's a bit hard to see here, but he too has the folded bolt of a Sniper Mosin Nagant. Same as Polina, he would have a straight bolt. So, here. So he has a pistol, wearing a helmet instead of a Ushanka in the middle of winter. Has a Sniper Mosin when he's just a regular infantryman. And I can't see any rank insignia. I'm not sure about the overcoat, but I'm sure if there are some really hardcore guys in the comments who are going to tell me it's like an M48 model overcoat that wasn't issued to the Soviet army until, the 1950s or something. I don't know.
As a symbol of hope. But she didn't want to be a hero. She wanted only vengeance. The arrogance of the Third Reich was to think they could achieve what the great Napoleon could not.
Look at that Chad right there. Hold on, let's wind that back a second. Look at this Chad.
The arrogance of the Third Reich was to think they could achieve what the great Napoleon could not.
Shoulder firing MG42. I mean, yeah, I know it's Call of Duty and the pro tag does it all the time, but you're the player. But it's just in the cutscene, you have a guy shouldering an MG42. Hold up. Yeah, okay, so I want to rewind that back a little bit again, because I'm pretty sure, like everyone's pointed out previously, like the other MG42s,
The arrogance of the Third Reich was to think they could achieve what the great Napoleon could not.
Yeah, he doesn't have the muzzle booster on the front of the MG42, so the gun can't cycle. So you know what? He's forcing the recoil with his massive biceps and pecs. He is cycling it himself. He's generating enough force to cycle the action. Get that high rate of fire going with his massive muscles. Also, drew him skull on his helmet for some reason, I guess. I mean, if you want to, bro, you want to be edgy, could have just joined the Waffen SS, but I mean, with a build like that, you are definitely Aryan master race material. I think I've got a photo somewhere of a German soldier shouldering an MG42, but you're definitely an Aryan Superman if you're firing an MG42 full auto from the shoulder. And keeping it on target too, what? Relatively short burst, but still. And there you have Homeboy with his censored armband. I don't know why you'd bother. But hey. Also, that armored car's wrong. I think I get a better look at it later in the mission. I'll go over it more there, I think.
Perhaps if they weren't facing...
And of course, standard German procedure. When you hang someone, you gotta have a sign hung around their neck as to why they were hanged. Wer sind Partisan? So this is a partisan. Und haben auf deutsche Soldaten geschossen. So, who has been shot by German soldiers, or shot at German soldiers, or this is a partisan shot by German soldiers. Hanged. The Germans did quite a lot of that. Hanging people who were either partisans or deserters, executing them summarily, and hanging signs around them to let everybody know why they were executed, and displaying them publicly, usually from telephone poles, which is what you see here.
Someone as fierce as Lady Nightingale.
There. We heard Steiner's been creeping around the commercial district.
Makes sense. He's never far from the slaughter.
It's foolish.
Let's go.
Now wait. We should see who they are so we can let their families know. Knife.
Again, the red collar tabs. I don't know why they put... I mean, I know it's standard Soviet aesthetic. They put red collar tabs on everyone, but that doesn't look right. I can't identify exactly what uniform that is, but no. No red collar tabs. The pack is right, though. And I think the entrenching tool. But I need a better look.
Short! That's a sniper shot. Precise.
I know that's not right, but they're doing it for the M rating, I think. Is you can see there's this perfectly round hole. But if I skip it back a little bit, if you look at the back, yeah. So like if you're hitting the head with a 7.92 Mauser, and you're shot through the forehead like sniper, like angle, so this entire part of your skull is gonna be gone. Like this entire the back of his head will be gone. So no. Unless you fired at seriously extreme range, which in urban environments, no.
Short! That's a sniper shot. Precise.
But you think
They
that's
might be.
Okay. There's more cover this way. Come on.
Good news. Look at that.
So how will you kill Steiner, Lady Nightingale?
I told you to stop calling me that.
The name gives us a...
Okay, so good news is Misha has the correct PPSH. He has a drum mag. Huzzah! But there is one major problem here. And that is the date. The date is completely incorrect. Completely. January 1943. So, the way this mission is framed, you've got a bunch of ragtag partisans and Soviet soldiers hanging out in the tractor factory in northern Stalingrad, desperately holding out against the Germans. A factory which by this stage the Germans had already occupied. Alright, but leaving that aside, there is disorganized ragtag bunch desperately hanging on. The date is January 1943. Operation Uranus and Operation Mars The two major counteroffensives that the Battle of Stalingrad is most famous for, launched by General Zhukov, the guy in charge of this operation, which encircled the entirety of General Paulus's 6th Army in Stalingrad, happened in November of 1942. So if this is January 1943, even if it's like January 2nd, 1943, General Paulus and 6th Army have been encircled for the past month and a bit. So the Red Army, and there's a small Red Army enclave on the west bank of the Volga River holding the river crossing points, which is what you see in the movies, right? Movies, Enemy at the Gates. You know, when they cross the river, Stuka's attacking them. Yeah, roll clip. They're holding those river crossings, and not much else. The Germans have occupied the rest of the city, but because they've spent all their troops to occupy the city, they left their flanks weak under the command of Axis allied troops, so Romanians, Hungarians, etc. Right? They've counterattacked, crossed the flanks, and encircled the whole bunch, and they've been in here for a month now. Goering said he could supply them. He obviously couldn't because the weather conditions have rendered the Luftwaffe basically inoperable. If you remember in the first Stalingrad episode, I talked about the Heinkel 177s and how they shouldn't have been there at all. They weren't even remotely present at that stage of the Battle of Stalingrad. They are present here now, all 16 of them. Well, at least they were. 8 of them have since caught fire and crashed during the attempt to resupply the city. So at this point, if it's early January, we should see... in the background here, the sky full of at least 20 or 30 Luftwaffe aircraft trying to land at the airfield. I think if they're from the north... if they're coming from the factory district, they're in the north. So the river would be on their left. So we should see a column of Luftwaffe aircraft in pattern on the right-hand side of the screen trying to land at the 2 airfields left over here. We should have the Luftwaffe over here, yet we don't see any planes. Which leads me to believe that this is late January. And if it's late January, we shouldn't run into any resistance because all the soldiers have run out of food and we're just sort of clearing up the survivors. If we do see any planes, if it's late January, it will be Soviet aircraft blasting propaganda out of them, telling the Germans to surrender, because there were a couple of brave Soviet aviators flying PO-2s, the same biplanes that the Night Witches flew. They would be flying around here broadcasting propaganda messages to the Germans, telling them to surrender, and dropping vodka. Believe it or not. Funny, strange, that's not on brand for the Russians at all. Dropping vodka to the Red Army troops garrisoned along the Volga River. So, yeah, look, this entire Russian partisans trying to save our city from the evil fascist invader. We've already saved the city. We're waiting for the Germans to starve to death or surrender.
There's hope, Polina.
Hope would win this war.
But at least Misha's guns, right? He's got a PPSH with a drum mag.
Боже мой.
Bastards.
To followers of Lady Nightingale. Anyone who gives asylum to this terrorist will face the most severe penalties. Sucky.
That's one thing I actually do have to give Call of Duty Vanguard credit for, which not a lot of the other Call of Duties have, at least not until recently, is address the various facts of life of German occupation. It's something that they don't do, generally. They sort of focus on the high-octane combat and excitement, which is what everyone's there for. But I do think that their portrayal of the ruthlessness of a German occupation during the Second World War, especially in the Eastern Front, is quite good. I said it in the first one on Stalingrad. I'll say it in this one. The portrayal of executions of civilians, in reprisal for partisan attacks. The wholesale slaughter of civilians at will by the Germans is historically accurate. 26 million Soviet citizens, so Ukraine, Belarus, Kazakhstan, all the Stan regions in the Central Steppe, Mongolia. 26 million people were killed as a direct result of the German invasion. And in fairness, that is on top of the 5 million or so more killed by Stalin's Gulag system prior to that, or as a direct result of war work and slave labor and denunciation. So it's good that they're showing that. Anyway, carrying on.
Let's go up this way. You think the sniper could be one of Steiner's Jägermorders?
We should be more careful.
Alina, do you hear that?
Nice job with the subtitles there.
Take a look.
Okay, so you go on patrol with a sniper who has an advanced optic, and you're handing your only set of optics to her to do recon when she has an optic herself. I understand that the binoculars may have better magnification, but at the distances we're looking at here, that's not a problem. I don't see why she can't use, unless you're factoring in the dumb scope glint that Call of Duty does. But actually, the scope is something I wanted to talk about here, because if you look at her scope, her dad's rifle, this is her dad's rifle she took in the first Stalingrad mission. As you can see, it's a very complex scope. It's a Zeiss, it's a reproduction of a Zeiss scope. It's made in a Leningrad factory. It's the same scope that the German snipers use. What's interesting about it is its maker's mark. The maker's mark says it was made in 1937. Now you can see it there. I looked up on the website tracking the issuing of Soviet materiel. Now, I don't need to tell you that Soviet machining and Soviet mass production capability was not exactly, shall we say, up to the mark in terms of quality control. And of course, as we've seen in the current conflict today, Soviet build quality, even in modern weapons in peacetime, is questionable, to say the least. So these high-quality scopes were very, very rare comparatively. The Soviets had to make a cheaper budget version that would do the job, so they made the PU scope, the one that you see in all the photos, all the games, and all the movies, which is the standard issue Soviet rifle scope, very simplified, and has a simple T-post crosshair. The crosshair in this one is wrong as well. As you'll see later, she has a normal crosshair like you would see on a Springfield rifle or any of the Western designs. But this one is really weird because it's issued in 1937. Her dad didn't seem to be in the military at all. He was an old man, retired, assumingly in good party standing. They would have had to have been because of the apartment they had. You don't get an apartment in downtown Stalingrad during the era of the Great Purge alive without being a good party man and a loyal follower of comrade Uncle Joe. So maybe he had connections to get this, but this is a 1937 model of this scope. Only 11,000 of these scopes were made, compared to the literal hundreds of thousands of the PU scope, as well as the actual millions of Mosin Nagants made. The chances of her having this scope in particular is quite literally 1 in millions. It doesn't really make sense for her to have it, but I suppose her dad knew people in the party. Here you go.
There, on the right.
Alright, this is the armored car I mentioned earlier. There are two major problems with this. First I'll get with is the armored car. So the armored car you see here is a, believe, if my numbers are right, the Sonderkraftzeug 231. It is an armored car, also known as the 6RAD. Now, this was the armored car used during the invasion of Western Europe and the Balkans, right? And the early stages of Operation Barbarossa, when they needed every vehicle they can get. It is currently 1943. Okay, so it's January 1943. But Operation Case Blue, which was the invasion of the southern Russian steppe leading to the Battle of Stalingrad, commenced in mid-1942, after the Battle of Kharkov, or Kharkiv, as it's now known. This particular type of armored car was supplanted by the 8RAD. 8RAD is a particularly sore spot for me at the moment, because I've been playing competitive Company of Heroes 3, and 8RAD spam is a blight on my existence. Ugh. Very much 8RAD spam. If anyone else in the comments is playing Company of Heroes 3 against the Deutsche Afrika Korps, you know my pain. Too many 8RADs. But more importantly, in a historical context, the 8RAD and the more famous Sonderklasszeug 222, the four-wheeled 20mm armored car, which we see usually, or the normal scout car armed with a turret with a machine gun. That is what you would more commonly see, and they had completely supplanted the 6RAD in frontline service. So all of these 6RAD armored cars had been brought back to the Western garrisons or anti-partisan units in the Balkans. So all of their security divisions, Romanian divisions in, providing rear security and anti-partisan operations, garrison troops in France, Rommel's circus that you would see in 1944 with all these random vehicles everywhere. That's where all the 6RADs had gone. Either that, or they were relocated for training purposes, training armored car operators in Germany. These were not in frontline service anymore in 1942-43, so you wouldn't see them. But there is an even bigger issue here. As I mentioned before, the Luftwaffe is completely hamstrung by operational ability. It's the middle of winter. The Luftwaffe never really got over its operational inferiority in winter. The Soviet Air Force is back and intercepting them. They're only getting literally 1/5 on a good day of the daily supply needs of 6th Army. On a good day, they got 1/5 of the supplies required. Goering said, no problem, I'll supply the whole army with my Air Force. Yeah, no. No. They were getting 1/5 on a good day, 1/10 on a bad day. Where are they getting the fuel? How are these trucks and cars driving around? They have no fuel. Where are they getting it? And given the snowfall and the rubble and the damage that the Luftwaffe did on their initial assault on the city, what roads are they going to use? They don't have the fuel to get dozers through to clear it, so how are they going to drive through the city? There would be no German vehicle use at this stage. Very little, if any at all. In fact, I would gather that most of the fuel would be used for heating at this point. They wouldn't even be using horses because they would have eaten them already. Like, no. This doesn't make sense.
Steiner.
Where is he going?
He's driving towards the commercial district. You may be right about those Jaeger mortars, Misha.
Let's move before we lose sight of him.
Misha, be careful! Shit! Get down!
What do we do?
Glenn!
So, a fun bit of trivia there. She said blien as a pejorative, and it was translated in the subtitles as damn. Don't know if those of you who watch Life of Boris. She said blien, and blien is a form of pancake. But the reason she's saying that is for a similar reason that like if you've watched Spy Kids when you were younger, there's a throwback. You would say, oh, shiitake mushrooms. She says, oh, pancake. It's a way of deflecting from saying bliet. So, just a fun fact. And doble noche is good night.
Get up, Misha! We have to move!
Dogs, watch out! Soldiers incoming!
Ready to shoot!
Okay, so again, wouldn't be a dog because Well, simply put, they would have eaten it by now. But if mine eyes do not deceive me, that looked like a PPSH with a box mag. Oh my god, it is! Hallelujah! We have not one, but two historically accurate PPSHs. Call of Duty Vanguard, you're doing me. You're spoiling me here, guys. God. The box mag is real. It exists now. It's here. It's a thing. Misha's got to handle the drum and it's jamming, although the drums were assembled at the factory with the weapon. So, if he's got the original drum, awesome. It'll work, but still, he's got the interchangeable box mag. 35 rounds. Money. Beautiful. An absolutely wonderfully modeled, historically accurate PPSH with an amazing fire rate, killing a dog that would already be doing its best, guys. Gotta give him props. Also, we got a trophy. Bird of prey. Sick.
Soldiers incoming!
Ready to shoot!
Again. Not even like 20 seconds later, I'm like, hey, look. It's a historically accurate firearm in Call of Duty Vanguard in the campaign. This is amazing. Look how well we're doing. Hello. Definitely not an AK. The AS-44 experimental Soviet assault rifle. Look at you. Look at you right here. A year early and all experimental like. Well, we had a good run. We made it foreign. Oh, well, unless you count the wrong Mosin in the cinematic, but I guess that's cheating. We made it 5 minutes in before a major error, but here we are. Major error in the firearms. The AS-44, everybody. Take it in. Wonderful. And the fact that you don't immediately swap your PPSH for this assault rifle is commendable. Sticking with the historical bit with your exceedingly unlikely scope with the wrong crosshair, but more power to you, player. I sound like Jonathan Ferguson at this rate. I'm just going for the LARP. Just go for the LARP at this point. Just do it. And there's the shotgun too. Like, we were going so well, and we're going so well. And there's the shotgun. Wonderful. They could have used the Luftwaffe drilling like Call of Duty World War II, but no. We've got the fancy revolving shotgun of which like 40 were made, and they were all exceedingly expensive collector's items for the ultra wealthy hunters in Bavaria. So, well done. Although I do have an interesting point. There was, sorry, I was going to pronounce Wehrmacht and I just said was. I will do the rest of the review in German. No, sorry to my German patrons. There was a German general who did bring his fancy-dancy shotgun with him to the front lines, and he would go deer hunting from the back of a Fiesler Storch, like the Army Cooperation plane. He would go deer hunting from the back of his plane. Aerial deer hunting with his fancy shotgun. Yeah. Absolute mad lad. So, maybe he lost his shotgun. I don't know. But, there it is. Why some private would have it, I have no idea. But it looks like, over here, look at that! On the snow. On the snow. No laser sights, no drums, no nothing silly. Mine eyes doth not deceive me. There is an MP40 in the snow. There it is, look, an actual MP40. Historically accurate, untainted by the monstrosities of this game. Congratulations, Vanguard. Yeah, right back in my good books. Let's see how long it lasts.
12 seconds later.
More incoming!
Are you nuts?
Translation for you. Of your mat is Russian for mother. In case you were wondering.
Only room for one sniper in Stalingrad.
You tell him, sister. You got a Stug over there. Need to wait till they get closer so I can have a look at it. I think that guy had an STG-44. Oh, are you back to disappointing me, Vanguard? We're 1 for 1. You can still save it. Look. Look, there we go. DP-27! Yay! The dinner plate! DP-27! Stalin's record player. It's real. It exists. Magnificent. Player's not picking it up like a loser. Got a 105 round pan. He's got the big boy on it, but I'm just happy to see it here. I love me a good dinner plate. Any of my homeboys out there, Hell Let Loose and Red Orchestra 2, rep the dinner plate with pride. The ultimate weapon. A weapon to surpass Metal Gear made out of pure stellinium. So that's two in a row. We've got an MP40 without problems and a DP-27. We're doing well. We've got the boss over there, so you never know.
Incoming!
Only room for one sniper in Stalingrad.
Holy shit, Bolívar, Jägermorgen!
There it is. We have an STG-44. Well, again, an STG-44. 43 right now. So, no. That is a production STG-44. Although, it doesn't have any sights or barrels or, you know, drum mags. So, I guess we're doing well at least. And, to credit, there was a prototype STG-44, the MP42BH, which was a prototype STG that was in service at the time, that was being field tested. Their most famous field test was being dropped behind enemy lines to a group of encircled German troops who used their new weapons to fight their way out of their encirclement and get back to friendly lines. But that is something that did exist at this stage. So if you had the prototype version, it'd be okay. But that's a production STG-44, which doesn't exist yet, so no. But what's more concerning is the Stug. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have the wrong model of Stug. Right now, the Wehrmacht would be using the Stug F and the various modifications. What we have here is a Stug G. The reason I can tell it's a G is for two reasons. One, side skirts. Stug F series had lots of boxes along the side for storing crap in. They also had various accoutrements here. The gun mantlet's the same. Armor layout's the same. But the side skirts, that there, the pintle mount, that's G. That's a Stug G. There's also another way you can tell, which is the commander's cupola, which you can see there. The commander's cupola was reinforced and had a few changes made to it, and we won't be able to see it. That might be a bracket for it about the back here, but we would only be able to see it if we had a top down. It looks like there is an extractor fan. There would be an extractor fan at the back of the compartment venting out. There are some tank nerds in the comments, there always are, who would be able to do a more intricate detail, but this is definitely a Stug G they've used as the model, where it would be a Stug F at this stage. Maybe some later versions of the Stug F, but these side skirts and the other accoutrements would not be on this model yet. So we have the wrong Stug. I'm nitpicking. Fairness, I'm nitpicking. A Stug is a Stug, no matter how you look at it, but you're here for me to nitpick. There you go, the T-3485 in all its glory. Ahistorical though it is. There's another one, no less.
I can't wait to put a bullet through Steiner's head. Steiner's.
Can't be sure what model of radio that is. That's more... It looks relatively right, but one thing I really do appreciate is they've got a comm center here, you've got a radio here, but to the left here, you've got a reel of telephone cable and what looks like a German gas mask canister. So I really like that little detail here because Dad was a signals guy. Before I became this big fancy YouTuber, I worked in the communications industry, so I always appreciate comms doing well. Some poor guys had to run telephones. If you remember that famous scene in Enemy at the Gates, hunting the telephone operators. Yeah, that was a big deal. Cutting telephone wires cuts comms. Radios are very short range and very inefficient at the time, so always good to see that that's represented properly.
Head.
Wait.
There's the famous Stalingrad fountain with the dancing children. Put it up in post.
This is bad, Polina. We can't strike from here. There's too many of them. Take a look.
Shit.
It's a bit hard to see on this, but as you can see, some of you pointed out, which I want to make a correction from my last video. I was wrong about the helmet flash. You can see that you've got the national colors on the side of the helmet. It's not a unit insignia like I thought. Even though the Luftland division has the same unit colors. It's the national colors of Germany. That is the national flash on the side of their helmets. They were ordered to be removed before this invasion in 1941. So, the helmet's wrong. Also, old mate over here.
Steiner. There, on the right.
This is a bit petty. I know they're doing it for effect, but two officers meeting each other out in the open after the city's been encircled. And as we know, Stalingrad was very famous for heavy sniper activity on both sides. As we know, Tanya Chernova, Vasily Zaitsev, among others. So the idea that you'd have two officers meeting out in the open in a very open, exposed area, and one of them salutes the other. They're both wearing their officers' caps and they're saluting in the middle of a field in a city full of snipers. And the fact that we're playing as a sniper watching them sort of speaks for itself. That's dumb. No wonder this guy dies. Spoiler. But, you know, it's the whole point of the game.
He might be
really.
Steiner's superior.
Sniper, get down! Ah!
Rip.
You okay?
Misha,
It's not as bad as it looks.
just hold still and let me check.
That doesn't sound good.
It's not.
We don't have time for this, Ahsoka. You hear me?
I need to get you somewhere safe to patch you up. You're not going to die here. Up! Let's move! I'm getting you to the post office. We'll be
There
safe
you go.
there.
There's her Tokarev.
Steady your breathing.
Sie gehen aus Deckung! Immer weiter feuern!
I have you!
Apart from the difficulty of operating this one-handed, I want to use this brief sequence to recommend the story of Valeria Narovskaya. She was a combat medic in the Red Army during the Second World War, and she has one of the most metal stories of anyone I've ever heard. She was famous for having killed at least 20 or 30 German soldiers, just as you see here. He was carrying the wounded to safety, armed with an SMG or a pistol as a sidearm. He eventually won Hero of the Soviet Union and had a town named after her, after an aid station was surrounded by the Germans. A tiger started rolling down the street at them. Two of them, in fact. She grabbed a case of grenades, primed a grenade, and then threw herself under one of the tigers and blew it up. This routed the Germans and allowed her comrades to counterattack and save her aid station. She was awarded Hero of the Soviet Union, and they named the town after her, as I said. Pretty metal story.
We're almost there!
Tötet sie! Schnell!
Shit! Rockets!
We won't make it!
Shut your mouth! I have you!
Panzerfaust or Panzerschreck? Because I don't think either of those were in widespread service. That's very bulky and heavy ammunition to be flown in by the Luftwaffe. Which, have you noticed? I would have noticed. We haven't seen a single plane this entire time. So either Goering's Luftwaffe has disappeared or all been shot down or crashed. I mean, which is very likely, to be fair. This must be late January, because there are no open airfields and the Soviets have overran all the airfields. In which case, how are all of these guys walking around? They'd have no food. Also, the weather should be worse. Okay.
Watch out!
Well, at least they're using Panzerschrecks and not Panzerfausts, because in Call of Duty Vanguard, you can reload Panzerfaust, which is infuriating, seeing as it was famous as world's first widespread production, how they say, disposable, rather, anti-tank launcher.
Misha!
Fuera. Stop it. Don't let him take Stalingrad.
This knife isn't going to get us out.
What are you talking about? They've taken most of the city, and you're in the process of taking it back. The Red Army is literally 2 hours to your... It's 2 hours in any direction to link up with your friends. Like, what are you complaining about? Shut up.
We need to...
Finish. Please. For all of us.
No, you're delirious. Come on, we have to move.
Valina, go!
No! You cover the opening. I go out and flank them.
There is no time. Go. I will slow them down.
Duraczok.
Сплячка. Now go. Go.
Alright. So. First off, rip Misha. Rip the homie. Going out with a bang. Quite literally. Taking the fascists with him. Good call. Always a worthy death. If you're gonna die, take a Nazi with you. Rule number 1. 2, I feel really bad for this voice actor. I do. Because he plays every Russian character in video games. Like, if you need Russian voice actors, he is in every single game. He is Captain Malashenko in World in Conflict. He's, what's his name? The Red Station spy traitor in Metro Exodus. Not Exodus, Metro Last Light. He's the, Red Army spy in Metro Last Light. Like, he is literally in every single game as an Eastern European character. So, I feel for this. And he dies in most of them, too. So, he's like the Sean Bean. I mean, I feel bad for him, man. I'll put his IMDb up or whatever he's got up on screen here for you. But big ups to this, man. You need to stop getting typecast. You need to get some better roles. But there is a historical inaccuracy. Those grenades are wrong. That is not a Soviet F1 grenade, nor is it a grenade of German origin. It looks like a British Mills bomb, especially with the sort of shape and design and the fuse, as well as the spoon. It's the spoon safety. It's definitely not a Soviet grenade. Maybe they lend-leased some Mills bombs, I'd guess.
You will not get away this time, little bird.
I know this is probably not a direct reference to it, but I want to bring it up. The German name for the Battle of Stalingrad, at least in certain circumstances, was known as the Rattenkrieg, or the Rat War. Because the Germans would be fighting through sewers, apartment blocks, wrecked buildings, scurrying in and out of dark corners like rats, like we see Polina doing here. And it is rather cool that you factor that in, at least a little bit. It's nice that they bring that in, at least in some regard. Not as good as the earlier Call of Duties, where it showed the Russians on one floor of the building, the Germans on the next floor, and then their friends, some more Russians on the roof, right? So that was common. Buildings would change hands multiple times during the battle, like over and over again. I think one building, the railway station in particular, changed hands like several times a day, every day, constantly, throughout the entire battle. This whole thing was chaotic. I heard them refer to him as Obersteiner, which is colonel, but he's a general. Continuity error. Check with your voice actors. There it is. So yes, this thing did exist. It was a modification made to the World War I Mauser service rifle of the German army. Not during World War II, though. And this game models it as a detachable box mag instead of a reloadable stripper magazine extension. I hate it. It ruins the rifle. The K98 is one of the most beautiful things ever. I've wanted to shoot one. You look how you massacred my... Here we are, Assassin's Comrade Episode 3. And again, three half-tracks full of dudes. Where are... Okay, the third half-track only had one dude in it? Like, where are you getting the fuel? Why haven't they got any damage or any snow on them? I have so many questions. Oh, I sense falling off the roof here. You have the shot. Oh. Oh. Nice to see that these hardened infantry veterans are wearing their Knight's Cross during combat. Not only do you have the national emblem on his helmet that should have been taken off, he's wearing the Knight's Cross.
Eliminated far deadlier threats than you, girl. You are all.
Wouldn't be a shooter boss fight without some trash talk from the main bad guy, would it? What the? There it is again. 2 years early, the Volkssturmgewehr. The People's Militia Rifle, technically, because it's Volkssturmgewehr rather than Volkssturmgewehr. So, yeah, this was made, as I'm sure you're aware, as a desperation measure to make a cheap semi-automatic rifle for the Volkssturm, the People's Militia, and for Volksgrenadier units, as a last-ditch effort to have, like, a good rifle to hold the last remnants of the Reich together. Naturally, it wasn't issued until 1945. Their build quality was rather suspect. So it's appearing in 1943 and it has a scope on it. Why would you put an expensive scope on an emergency measure rifle? Why would you do this? Oh well. And there's that super shotgun again. What on earth is that? What is that doing here? A Fedorov Avtomat. Good lord. Good lord, there are only 3,000 of these built. It's chambered in 6.5 Ahsoka. Like, where are they going to get the ammo? I mean, yes, it's a Russian rifle. Yes, they were reissued in 1940, but for German soldiers to be using them here? Not often. You make me lost for words, but okay. And that MP40 had a NIDAR sight on it, because of course it did. God damn. God damn, it's just all come screaming down in a ball of flame at this point, hasn't it, chat? God damn. Yeah, just look at that drum mag. Drum mag, NIDAR sight. Oh. Absolutely pimpin'. An Assassin's Creed. Oh. Assassin's comrade, and she loses her rifle. Oh no.
You are nothing without your rifle, Lady Nightingale. Of course. Dead. Oh, fucking bitch!
Oh. Oh. Oh, get shanked, bro. Get shanked.
You have nowhere left to run, Steiner!
He can't die here. He's got to lead a counterattack to save Germany.
We'll all die here in Stalingrad.
His counterattack will save the fatherland in 2 years' time from people like you.
You took everything from me. Now it's
You're
my
gonna break
turn.
the timeline, Paulina. You can't do it. It's Steiner's counterattack that ensures the Fourth Reich. You can't kill him here. You're breaking the historical timeline.
You won't find satisfaction in this.
You're breaking the timeline.
Don't end with me.
No. Don't do
We'll
it.
destroy you all.
You won't be doing anything.
Not me.
Also, apparently,
Freisinger.
he's an
He
SS
will
officer,
finish what he started.
and he doesn't have a Totenkopf on his officer's cap, and
It's
he's got a knight's cross with oak leaves.
All you've left me is this knife.
You killed General Steiner. Big rip.
I could.
The fatherland is beyond saving now.
Incredible. You're all the same. I've killed more of you than I can count. And you all spout the same pathetic bullshit. Freisinger. Is he supposed to scare me? Another piece of fascist filth.
Well, you know what needs to be done here.
Don't worry. I'll hunt him down next.
It's time for Final Destination, buddy. Oh!
You thought you'd take my city and crush my people. You tried to break me, but you failed. You created Lady Nightingale. And now, she's destroyed you.
And even in the cinematics, poor guy can't get a muzzle booster on the end of his 42. Whoa.
The infamous Lady Nightingale brought Stalingrad back from the brink.
No, she didn't. General Zhukov and the army of the Southern and Stalingrad fronts did that with Operation Uranus. I'll put it back on the screen for the kids at home. They'd already won at this point.
Her actions inspired the Russians to take back their city and go on the offensive. Helena changed the course of the war for the Allies and her people. With that reputation, it was only a matter of time before we found her.
You know, wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Well, thankfully I've only got, what, like 3 more missions to go? Maybe 4? I don't know. Well, comment what you want me to do next, guys. See you next time.